kukua kulingana na mazingira mapya ambayo yako katika nchi yetu. Kwa kuwashukuru sana na kuwakaribisha katika mjadala huu. Hapa kuna wakuu wa mashirika ya michezo, wengine mtakuwa na maswali, wao watajibu, na wao wanaweza kuwa na maoni, watawaeleza. Tukitoka pale nje, tunatoka hapa tukiwa kitu kimoja, kwamba tumekubaliana, tumeamua kusaidiana, kushirikiana ili kila mmoja achangie katika ubora na kuboresha michezo katika nchi ya Kenya. Mwenyezi Mungu awabariki, asanteni sana.
We appreciate Asia's again. Thank you so much, Asia's. Officially opening this meeting and giving us your marks. I know we have insisted that this is a continuation of the last meeting that we had on 29th of January 2024. The then CS Rabababu Namwamba met with the federations similar to what we have today. And during that meeting, there was a communique that was prepared, which was signed by a representative of a few federations. And I wish to invite our Director of Sport or his representative to take us through so that we can react from it. But before then, allow me to do a simple introduction of our team. I know they have an opportunity to study before you, but I'm having our DG Sports Kenya, Gabriel Pomora, Director of Sports, Jackson Indakwa. We have our main man, Louis Ibrahim, CEO. From ADAC, we have Madam Penina Wahome, and we have interacted with our Registrar of Sports, Madam Rose Wasike, who seeks for alternative mechanism. We have our CEO from Sports Tribunal, Madam Lea, and also I'm having, where are they? Well, I had the senior advisor from the office of the CS, Brian Kamanzi, the PA to the CS, and I have my PA from Secretariat. I know fairly a lead introduction. But I invite the representative from the office of the Director of Sport to read the communique. I would invite you to listen carefully. We examine what it has, then we give our feedback, the extent of implementation of what you have done, what the ministry was to do, what the federation was to do. Then we'll have an opportunity from the officers present here also to contribute. Karibu, Director. Deputy Director.
Cabinet Secretary, Principal Secretary, Sports Registrars, youth present, Sports Federation's officials present. I'll read through the last meeting communique and deliverables. next. I read through the communique and the deliverables. During a meeting between the Ministry of Youth Affairs, Creative Economy, led by the Cabinet Secretary and representatives of sports federations and organizations on 29 July 2024 at Radisson Blue Hotel, Academy. The first point of the communique was that there shall be an annual stakeholders engagement forum, preferably at the beginning of the year, to be set out sports agenda. The purpose of this point was to align all stakeholders on priorities, expectations, and the status of this is that we have not had a meeting because there were so many activities this year, and you know them. The next point was that the ministry shall expedite the process of reviewing the sports policy and the Sports Act 2013 and regulations thereunder in a participatory process. The purpose of this remain current and aligned with national development goals, global best practices, and stakeholders' needs. As we have been told by our leadership, this is ongoing and it is nearing conclusion. The federations shall comply with the provisions of the Sports Act 2013, align their operations, regularize, and complete their registration with the sports registrar conform to the provisions of the chapter. The purpose of this was to ensure legal compliance, governance alignment, and registration of sports oversight, accountability, and consistent implementation of the Act. There is an updated registrar of sports federation and the sports registrar. The other point was that all sports federations shall seek alternative funding options to supplement government support, and further, federations shall willingly declare other sources of funding. The purpose of this was to diversify funding, and federations were encouraged to seek corporate sponsorship and improve transparency. On this one, only a few federations have complied in seeking alternative funding. The other point was that all sports federations were requested to align their programs to the national strategic intervention, including the 5 pillars of better. The purpose of this was to ensure that the sports federations design and implement programs that are aligned with the national bottom-up transformation agenda. The status of this is that most sports federations have complied, as you are all creating activities that support livelihood of sportsmen and women through sports. And the other point was that all sports federations have seek express authority in charge of sports for bidding to host international sports events to ensure alignment with the ministry's performance contract, capacity and resource planning before commitments are made on international stage. We are having a big problem with this, we have been told. The other point is that all sports federations shall engage in the development of youth talent in collaboration with the ministry to ensure continuity in talent development and sustainable elite performance in sports. The purpose was a sustainable pipeline of sports talent. Most federations are complying because they have youth programs all over the country, but other sports federations are still fielding very old players where we should have. The other point was that all sports federations through government implementing agencies shall comply with the funding guidelines issued by the Sports Act and Social Development Fund system. The purpose of this was so that all sports federation and government implementing agencies supported through SASCA should comply with the funding guidelines are compliant. The other one was that the ministry through ADAC deal with the menace of doping in the country. All federations must adopt a zero-tolerance approach on doping and include the approaches in their respective constitutions and codes. This will make integrity of competition and to keep the international. The other point was that all national sports federations shall endeavor to invest and collaborate with the schools ecosystem for and progression. This was meant to establish a coordinated approach to identifying nurturing and progressing athlete talent by the some federations have complied with this, and mainly we commend chairs for this. They have done very well. The other point was that all sports federations shall conduct on time and in line with the law and their respective constitutions. Good governance is not negotiable. Further, federations shall endeavor to strengthen administrative and governance structure. This was to establish mandatory, timely, and compliant, and also to affirm that good performance is not negotiable and is fundamental to credible sports administration in Kenya. And also to encourage continuous strengthening of administration across the federation. Sports registrar will discuss this at length. The other point was that the sports federation shall acknowledge government support through branding and publicity of sports. This was meant to recognize government efforts to support sports events. Some sports federations have complied during hosting of sports events, and there is need to enhance this point. The other point was that the ministry shall prioritize establishment of sports infrastructure under the developed master plan. The sports infrastructure is aligned with the national master plan and prioritized with the national agenda. Sports Kenya will respond. The other point was that all sports federations shall institute of hooliganism, safeguarding of athletes, match fixing, inclusivity in team selection, among others. This was meant to promote fair environments and also protect athletes from harm, ensure ethical competition, and also align with the national safeguarding standard. Most federations are complying, but a lot needs to be done. In the last meeting, there are 15 in total. The representatives who signed this communique, we had a representative from National Sports Council, we had a representative from National Olympic Committee, we had a representation from Olympic Committee, also a representative from National Sports Federation for the Deaf. We also had a representation from Special Olympic of Kenya, and also the chairman of Sports Fund also signed, the former PS and the former CS. Thank you.
So thank you, Madam Kariuki. I followed it up. To agree, that's what we discussed. We have some of us who are in that meeting. Tulikuwa kwenye mkutano. That's what we discussed. Thank you. Then from there we asked ourselves, what is this that you have to do? And at this point, as we deliberate on that, I want to tip to all of us, because the few who made it, you give your contribution, useme kitu, swali, chochote ambazo unaweza tusaidia nayo, so that we can improve the management of sports. You being the association of the union, being the CS. I have some officers from the ministry who have mic. Rogers, the questions will be directed to the CS, then the CS knows because watu wake wanajua mwenye anajibu hiyo, ili usilete maswali yote kwa rusi. So of course we know who to respond. Karibuni. In the person? Yeah. So this is the mic.
So thank you, sir. Yeah. Thank you, sir. I think we'll pass the mics around and let's try to minimize the time. Let us also not repeat what Asa said. So we'll pass the mics around, beginning from
find the contribution threefold. One, the infrastructure, the legal infrastructure. The second one, the physical infrastructure, technology, and database. On the legal infrastructure, I would suggest that we do as much as possible to align the federation constitution with the international constitution. This will reduce a lot of conflict in the operational activities as a nation vis-a-vis international law. On the physical infrastructure, most of the federations are operating, and this is key in terms of making sure that we deliver to our people. Our request, we borrow a lead from our neighbor front, where the government supports each federation to have a physical office, and they second people from the government. One, IT expert. Two, an administrator. So that in case there is a scoreboard, the office. Thirdly, on IT, we don't have a database as a sporting fraternity. We need to integrate the offices of the registrar, the offices of sports tribunal, ministry department, and the federations, so that each of these entities has an integrated database to ensure that we are in sync. If there's a problem in taekwondo, same database can be achieved with the registrar, same database, and this will minimize the time wasted in confirming the real and the real evidence. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Basili. My name is Master Clarence Makio Ingalo. I'm the president of Kenya Tongimundo Federation. I'm very happy to be here with my colleagues. Thank you for inviting us. First, I wish to pass my gratitude to the quick intervention last year, 2024 December, when championship your office was August, we went to South Korea to make a commitment, make a request to the government to help us federations be able to host as many international events as possible. Because from our experience, as Tony Mundo, it's a sport which did not have much track in the country, but courtesy of an international event which started in 2013 and hosted 11 years, we've been able to expand the sport all over the country, as well as uplift the standard of our sport, the World Olympic Federation ranking, and that is all because of the many times we've been able to take most of our players to international in other foreign countries. Thirdly, to bridge a gap between federation and the Ministry of Education. Sports programs are managed or coordinated by federations directly. For the last 2 or 3 years ago, we've noticed that there's some agents which come in between the programs, so they undercut coaches, then end up underpaying the coaches, and in that kind of a system, the federations are not able to directly manage the affairs of the sport in that school. So that will really help, because most of our instructors or coaches benefit from direct employment from such institutions, and that will be of great benefit to our coaches, and of course give them employment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So I think that spirit of saving on time, we can limit ourselves to 2 questions each, and let's be brief, but we shall move the mics around so that we give each and everyone an opportunity. We have a mic there.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Stanley from the Paralympics. So my point basically, first of all, is to commend the support, because we can see the positive impact in terms of economic and social and so on and so forth. So basically, also being a lawyer, recommend what the Waziri said, Honorable Waziri, in terms of governance. Because you see, if you don't get it right on governance, then you'll have a lot of chaos. So what I would like to specifically point out is the issue of having parallel national federations. Because it cannot be that maybe, and I would like to urge the stakeholders, that is the entities that govern sports, because they are the major stakeholders. That is the director, office of the director, and the registrar of sports, to familiarize themselves more about the structures of these sports federations. Because you see, you have the top body at the apex level, which is the IF, International Federation, translating into national federations. So it cannot be that you have 2 national federations that are parallel, encourage contention. So mine is basically to speak on that point, so that we can reduce these conflicts, unnecessary conflicts in sports federations. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's very good. I would like structured questions. Somebody picked infrastructure, or picked governance. We'll give a forum where you can give your own personal or individual federation representations at the ministry. We'll take 2 people from represent the deaf. So 1 or 2 people maximum.
Honorable Cabinet Secretary and the peers in the Ministry of Sports and all the various offices represented here. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm thrilled to have this opportunity to have some small deliberation. You see, as the Secretary General for the Kenya Sports Federation for the deaf, you see, we have some few proposals that we want to put across. The first one equity or equality. You see, we have 22 sport disciplines across the Deaflympics people. So our people have the various talents, just like any other person from any sporting discipline. You know, whenever we get these opportunities, also consider them. Because whenever they fly out of the country, we compete in the same events as others, and we get medals just the same way as other counterparts in other different spaces of Olympics. When it comes to, you know, giving awards or incentives, very big gap when it comes to reward system, for instance. At the last time, we had the second African Deaf Athletics Championship in this country. And our participants clinched a lot of medals. But we see aid for a long time during the recently recognition, because it's a hearing sport, but when it comes to the deaf sports, it becomes challenging. So mine is, please, we are humbly requesting you, within your ability, please help us sort out this issue of equality in sports. And then secondly, we have talked about infrastructural development. I still office. When you are implementing that, it is equally important that we kindly consultations, you know, consultation in different sporting federations, for instance, maybe for persons with disability, aspects of accessibility in those infrastructural developments. Like I said, we have even 22 sporting disciplines, but when it comes to accessibility, there's no equality. Even tennis, for instance, is quite expensive, bowling is expensive, golf, so bowling is also very costly. So mine is to request, please, when we are implementing these projects, accessibility needs to ensure that the correct accessibility format is used. And the different committees that we have, mine is to request, you know, please, for instance, in football, we understand that right now we're in the process of implementing the different reviews of policies and laws that we've talked about. As you proceed in the review of the sporting actual policies, there is representation in the committee, because we have different considerations, different needs. For instance, you know, whether be it at the committee level, wherever sports, if it is the sports board, sports funds, we just equal representation. And then about registration and the regulations, I adhere to the regulation. So we talk about the 24 counties. We request also that through your office, you can consider the membership of the deaf in these committees and those other places, so that we can achieve these 24 county rule that is we are requesting. The last time we had a meeting with the former CS of Sports, Sababu, we brought about the issue of, you know, briefcase, you know, or rather organization using backdoor office. And there was a pledge that each federation was to be given an office so that we can operate, you know, at a central place. So please look into that issue. I hope now, as we're reviewing, in the process of reviewing the sports policy and the act, these issues will not come up again. We hope that we will be able to sort out these issues if we all work together and invest together. Okay? Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Yeah, that covered for the deaf. We have 10 minutes to go. So please don't give speeches, just questions straight.
This side, please. Over. This side.
Football. It will be brief. Waziri, PS, and the rest of the team. Just two things for me to mention. One is the successful commercialization of sports. This is the only solution, I think, for members of all federations to take note of, in my view, that with successful commercialization of your sport will help you reduce over-reliance on government funding, but also ensure that federations remain. The first was always to complain when government intervenes on certain areas in terms of we say we always claim as federations that there's interference from government, but we're also over-reliant on government for support. So that's an oxymoron in itself. So commercialization of the sport is critical for us to. I think that is where we need the help from government in terms of infrastructure and all the things we've talked about, from the legal aspect or the legal framework and so on and so forth. So I would want to urge all federations to work together to help us commercialize each and every sport so that we can be less reliant on funding from government and be able to do proper resource mobilization. We have seen the presentation that came from the ministry, and that document that was presented was signed on the 1st, I think January, sometime in January of 2024. It has very good suggestions, very good recommendations about them again, so we don't need to repeat ourselves. The challenge, I think, is also in the implementation. 18 months down the road, I'm suggesting that we have a mechanism and a system where we can do the implementation of these suggestions. How do we track progress from such meetings? So when we break today, what are the next steps? How are we going to implement all those recommendations that were made? We find ourselves progressing, going to newer heights. I think mine will just be that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Santi Waziri, mine is on infrastructure, and I want to talk about partnership with the private, in Kenya. In this country has got very many facilities, and we have some of the best. We no longer have the funding from the world bodies. What can we do as the government with some of those NGOs to make sure that we use those facilities that we have? Number two, some of the best golf courses in this country are also privately owned. What can we do with these private companies to make sure, or government, to make sure that our young ones participate in those golf courses? I want to report here that to talk to some of the golfers, and they are incorporating a young one from the academy. Wins are golfer. I've seen Matawanji from tennis, Puja from beach volleyball, AK, see Mr. Maxwell here, and we are now partnering with them to make sure that we use those facilities. I would like the government now to take the initiative. Finally, we construct very huge churches in this country. Can we, as we advise the engineers, they construct those churches also to suit some of the indoor games? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Brazil. We are very excited that we are going to have some new stadiums. So my name is Ibrahim Hussein. As a former athlete, I was very lucky in Brazil. marathon 3 times at New York. And also, I'm happy that Coben is here. He has just working. About the stadiums, we are very, and we have heard that we are going to be building some new facilities. The new facilities should be put in the right place. I know we tend to take facilities where it's politically right. The facilities in the right place. For example, the sprinters, the best place for the sprinters to train is sea level. The best place is sea level. So we need a very serious stadium in sea level. Sea level is like Mombasa, Kilifi, below 1,000 feet. So I think Waziri, another thing, when we are building these stadiums, we need to be sensitive also because we are now hosting events. I know Athletics Kenya is bidding for the 2029 World Championships or 2030, 31. Facilities, we need to have compliant facilities. I know football here, and athletics have always been complementing each other, but of late, football has changed. They want to running track to have spectators there. So this is the direction now we are taking. With us. So we need a track which is dedicated to athletics, and I think Kasarani is that track. And what consult us, we will give our proposals. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, CS, PS, and all protocols observed. I want to bring to your attention on the issue of alternative funding mechanisms. Last year, we discussed with the former CS, and he actually guided us to have corporates to support us in terms of alternative funding, and he introduced an act and income tax cap 470, whereby, let me read the act itself. It says, the total income of any person for a year of income, there shall be subject to Section 16 of this Act, be deducted all expenditure incurred in such a year of income which is expenditure only and exclusively incurred by him in the production of the income. And Act, an income of an accounting period ending on said Sunday other than the last day of such year of income. Sorry, my phone went off. In chapter, in that section 1 and 2Z, it gives all authority to the Cabinet Secretary of Sports to give a corporate sponsor sports federation in that in short, I would say that awata ulizi wa zile pesa za tax within that period. That thing stalled at some point. I remember I was consulting with Madam Caro, the legal officer, and she told us that it was referred back to the Ministry of Finance. Maybe you can assist us that so that we can have alternative ways to fund ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable CS, our PS, our CEO, all of you, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Immaculate Wakula from Kenya Network Federation. CCI, for making it possible to have a wooden plank floor, a state-of-the-art wooden plank floor, having reached alone. Sir, you cannot wait that you are writing the treasury has made the river rebate for the wooden plank. The wooden plank for police to cost 3.4 billion rands. It's close to 30 million for Kenya. But the government, our vibrant government, made it possible to do the transportation, do the river. What now we are waiting for is just a small clearance issue at Samia Park. Then the floor will be stored by our very able DG at Kasarani. He has allowed us to store the floor in Kasarani. A wooden plank floor ni kiwanja ya netball. It measures 100 feet by 50. It's something big, sir. And we are only second to South Africa to possess now a wooden floor. We can actually be able to international championships in Kenya. My other request, sir, we have the floor. We don't expect it to stay in the storage upper Kasarani. So we are requesting that as you do the infrastructures, can we, sir, have other courts, other arenas, others gymnasiums, all that we are doing in the country. Netball is a game that is played by all counties. We have netball. It's a game that is wide. It is a game that is vibrant and girls. Sir, netball is now ranked position 23 in the world. And we hope that you will continue with that collaboration. God bless you.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Paulina Wange. I deal mostly with Paralympic sports. So I'd like to, mine will be strictly on funding. This monster funding. But before I say monster, thank you first of all to the Ministry of Sports for funding events. So my issue is what criteria is being used in this funding system, because we have followed all protocols, and since 2021 we've not been considered in any event training all over the country, and the parents are my neck. They have decided to go their own to for funds. So can you help us at least have one event since 2021, so that we at least have one event in a year or something, because the athletes, the parents are very desperate and on my neck. Some of them have taken to the media, we can't control them. So we are only requesting for one event at least this year. And the documents are in your office if you can be helped in that area. And I'm not talking for only our federation. I've had many federations here talk about this funding issue. Thank you very much.
Okay, let's have the last two questions.
Hello. I have been waiting. Thank you very much. The Honorable PS, we are very grateful for the opportunity that you've given us to go to ask questions and speak to you. The Honorable CS, thank you for having us. My name is Crystal Okusa. This is from Gymnastics Federation of Kenya. And the academies and schools in the counties. Gymnastics, you said that you're building facilities, but could you factor in that gymnastics is very costly? So even if the federation comes in to support the counties, we are not able to manage when it comes to the. Please factor in the requirements of the International Federation when it comes to things like there's 4 events when it comes to gymnastics. There seems like the floor, there's vaults, there's beam and bars. So please factor those in, because otherwise the children from the county will not be able to manage the international competitions. And then secondly, with regards to schools that do gymnastics, the public schools, they recently had a competition, and what they work on as expectation for gymnastics is nothing compared to, I think it must be what was done in the early 90s. It is not what the International Federation currently requires or really go beyond that school event. So we request that as a point in which your sports and education can work together.
Asante. Uniambia mtu na kule mpya. Secretary, I want to take this opportunity first to say thank you for supporting us when we went to our first edition in South Africa. We did wonders there, and it was also a thing that we requested for hosting right there, and we are glad to host it in Kenya 2027, and we are sorry for that. Secondly, I want to say something on hosting Kenya hosting international events. Kenya hosting international events has got a lot of. First, it's a policy attraction, and it will bring money to our country. Secondly, economic growth. When we allow these people to come to our country, they will bring a lot of things. They will bring a lot of money, they will make a lot of improvements in our country, and I can say that, with due respect, may you allow a lot of events in our country, so that the third thing is federations are working under our better agenda. I can see, like, for example, the Kenya Grannies, we usually help the issues pertaining health. Our grannies now, most of them had a lot of issues like hypertension, pressure, and just reduce. So I think for a CS, you can partner with other CS from the government, the health sector, and you can source money from there. In our country, corporates will chip in and will help us. So kindly for a CS, bring a lot of international events in our country, and it will bring a lot of money. Thank you.
Asante sana, Mr. Jabiri.
Okay. Yeah, Honorable CS, Honorable PS, and senior officers from the ministry. A meeting like this is not only to go where things maybe have not gone right. I'd like to start by commending the ministry and by extension the government for the synergy that was
and also federation. The standards of the latest event that we hosted, CHAM, is clear testimony that when there is very, very flowing synergy between the opponents, we can achieve. It went very well, it left us very, very proud, and a big, big thank you. And it also, not to mention the fact that the competition revolutionized our two major, Nyayo and Kasarani. Kasarani now looks totally different, and we are now on the right track. I would also like to say that with the moving to Talanta Plaza, we also took up a new approach. Now things are moving very, very, very fast. We can find everybody in the same place. I would like to pick out, of course, nearly all the departments are actually very cooperative. I'd like to single out the funding process, the processing of funding, which has become very, very, very fast, very much expedited. Applications are being processed, and also the funding given out in time with the delays we used to see are not there anymore, or rather they've been very, very quick. And to begin, now, a few small things that we would like to request Buenos Aires. If we could have affordable access to the training and competition venues. The indoor volleyball, indoor sports people, basketball, volleyball, and others, we love our indoor facility, but it's slowly becoming a white elephant because we can't afford 80,000 shillings a day to use it. Can we do something? Because also volume will bring the cost down. If it is used more frequently, the cost, because the overheads are the same, the staff are being paid the same, electricity is the same. Please, if something can be done. Also, if we could request, like the other federations, we used to have federations, a good number of them used to have offices in Nyayo of renovation. Those offices have stayed empty for 6 years. I don't know who is benefiting. In the meantime, those federations have been rendered briefcase. Please, if something can be done to return those offices from that. People can know where to find the federations when they want. Lastly, I know you've already the review of the policy and the Sports Act. We'd like it to be a participatory one. We'd like, please, the federation people to have access and have suggestions on how to make it very, very good. The last one was hurried, and a lot of ideas that have been put in were left out. Thank you very much.
Asante sana Bwana Nyamberi. That brings to the end of the first round of questions. Acha tumkaribishe PS ili waweze kutujibu. Karibu.
Thank you so much to every one of us. Majority of us to what we are doing. We are very much grateful. We are not so much worse. I thought Waziri, when we meet these who are also our bosses, they will give us a bad spot, but we are trying, we are faring well. Thank you so much. I want to give our colleagues an opportunity to respond and also to communicate to us, depending with the agency or the department where they are working from. However, just 2 things. Kindly, when you make your request, when you submit your request for funding to the Director of Sports or to the PA Sports. We are committed, we are objective, we look at it, and we communicate back. It is not a matter of use so many other intermediaries there. Another president of sitting in the office, coming to the office, all those, we are objective. We don't deal with it because to us, all federations are university, and I will support depending with the nature and the regulations that we use so that we support you. Tafadhali, msikuje kulala ofisi. Make a request to communicate part. Consider and two, if you make a request, of course we communicate back to you. In most instances, we have rationalized. The rationalization committee is a big team, a team of around 8 who sit. It's not the PS. It is not the director of sport who determines what needs to be done. It is a team that has been appointed by the CS to look into our requests. In case the request doesn't go the way we expected, you have a right of appeal, a right to the PS, a right to the CS, but please, tomorrow we need you, and you need us to raise it. There's no harm of just writing to us. You can write. But why should you go to the media? To the social media, you report to the world that XY said that you have had our sports fund. They have tried. They are trying to. What we don't want is a situation whereby an approval will be granted, then you go out, but you fail to deliver. Because if you don't have the allowances, you will not be able to deliver as a sportsman, isn't it? So it's better, and I've been telling you that one here. It's better you fail to go, but your team is comfortable and your homes. Then you find yourselves spending at the airports, which is not. So kwa nini unalipisha watu kutumia viwanja?
I think there is really low village because everything has a cost, and you people want well-maintained facilities. So what we use, if we allow people inside there for free, the government barely gives us enough money for our operations. So we have to collect money from our events to see how we can sustain ourselves. So you have to bear with need for us to discuss it at your level as an individual agency and make your case. But we can't generalize and just say everybody is free lunch. So I think hapo lazima tuelewane. The issue about building infrastructure in the right places, nafikiri waziri amesikia. Sometimes political directives, but Kenya yote inahitaji viwanja na hata hizo ziko huko sea level. I'm sure consideration is there in the latest discussions which we had with I think Waziri articulated himself very well, so I don't need to repeat that. Otherwise, just for the sake of the federations, I would like us to be able to collaborate more closely so that we can accommodate each other and not have one federation blocking out the facility for others. Liaise with us so that in our planning in terms of renovations or other work which we have to do in terms of maintenance, we don't just learn from the news that there's an event which is happening in Kasarani and nobody has even told us. So I would just like to conclude that so you can have enhanced in terms of our collaboration to have everybody coordinated. Otherwise, I thank you very much. Our facilities will be, we want, like, we continue to also develop the talent so that we can have the funding, the funds go away. So, and it applies to all other games. So I think volleyball for free, it's very expensive to light those lights in the indoor arena. So that's why we have to make that adjustment. By the way, non-sporting events are charged very high because of extensive use of the facility. But we have best rates for the sports institutions. And if you want, you can come again with this.
We appreciate Kumora. Well, what he has not told you is that he has been. I can intervene on his behalf. When you make your request, funding request, that's really the majority of you. You indicate that we should be using of them and those other facilities that we have here. But no sooner you get that funding, just disappear. Don't know where you go to. Alternative way, you don't pay them. So, Komora Badeskia, next time we are going to discuss to see whether we can have it deducted by sports fund before it is limited. But it is a free for all. Our sports Kenya, so that we work together we can move forward. Then we have a director of sport here. You asked, what is the model? What is this criteria that you use for funding, as many others? So for that one, can you tell us within 3 minutes, because we don't, the CS directed by one will be through, so that we can have a team.
Thank you so much, PS and CS. I will respond to a few questions very quickly. First and foremost, we always communicate, asking them to give us their calendar of events and planned activities for the forthcoming. And this and coming. Unfortunately, some of us activities in the calendar come right at the center of the year. This becomes a challenge for us because then we will not have captured them in the master plan and in the budget. Secondly, the requests that come from all these federations for this financial year alone, yes, I think we got a request of about 14 billion Kenya shillings for all these federations. And envelope cannot be for. When we see us not supporting activities, it is because the resource envelope is not commensurate to the requests that are not coming in. But we endeavor to give priority for those applications that are geared towards Olympic, Paralympic, and Deaflympic Games qualification. We endeavor to give for qualification for World Championships and such events. So if you have test matches, friendly matches, just to enhance the capacity of our team, we may not be able to support all of those. The other issue, we consider equity for all sports federations. And we acknowledge that we fell a bit short, or rather,
we fell behind in the payment of cash awards. It does not mean that if we have not paid you cash awards, we are not putting you on equal basis with the others. We put everybody on equal basis. We have a scheme that we follow, whether you are from the Deaf Sports Federation or SAC or whatever. The policy and the scheme is very clear, and that is what we follow. We don't discriminate anybody. We may have delayed the payment, but that is now being addressed and the payments are being done. So I just wanted to confirm that. Then the last thing is that on the issue of federations who wish to host, we have received an increased number of requests. I already alluded to this. Some of us are coming after they have already been international federation. Approval for the cabinet secretary. This gives us a challenge. We all have the requirements of what we require when we need to host. Those requirements, you need to inform us 6 months in time. You need to indicate the level of support you intend to get from the partners and so on. So let's follow these procedures so that we can be able to recommend your approval in good time. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, President Jakwa. We appreciate him also. Then, Brazil, you have realized today we have about 150 representing different and they are here because you invited them, and we are grateful that they have contributed. But when we sit there in the office, in most instances, your federation, FKF, they deal with football. Then there's so many others, including Kabaddi. Is it? And therefore, when you have an opportunity, when you are hosting your needs, when you are choosing your needs, there is no harm. Just invite us. Is it? And the many other sports that there are so many talents was it, and therefore call us so that we can know what is this, such that it becomes to identify talents at the grassroots level. So, Bonadu, when you're Mombasa here in Ghana, all of them are registered anyway, but we support.
Cabinet Secretary and Sports, Honorable Salim Kuria, Principal Secretary, Honorable Elijah, the President with his small
That's a good one.
They are laughing because
Small
all of them
with the number.
I need to affirm that it's a small piece. There's only one president with a capital P. So that's on a light note. It's the biggest gathering of presidents, I think.
In the world. In the world.
CEO Sport Fund, I only have 3 remarks to make today, unlike the other meeting. Because, first of all, I want to thank you. Because I was a CEO Sport Fund. Before you were split, it was a little bit market. Thank you very much for understanding the calmness. That is maybe the fact that you have replicated your demeanor in your management system. And that has come So Asa was here. The PS also said he has joined us, I think it's the new kid on the block, but we have worked very, very well. All us who work under him are very happy with the leadership that you have provided. So going to the points, first of all, I want to talk about the issues around politics and the governance. Those was handled by Mr. Indakwa and the issue. So as from where I sit, it's about funding. Those are issues here in the back office is straight to the point. God spend a spend. Remember last year when we had this meeting, we agreed on a checklist on a number of issues that's going to make our work easier and also we are reviewing that in terms of agreement or the Bible that we agreed on the Nagano. On funding issues, we still don't have a proper master plan. I think the director was not coming to explain our plan. Not the budget, there is no funds that are what you want us to plan for you, you submit us your plans. You submit us your plans at the beginning of the financial year so that we know what to expect. Number two, when you program for those events, mostly the events is not just about travel. You must have value to participate in some of these events. It also must have relevance to the country. It's not just an event. So that it must also, I think Waziri, must also have some bearing on developing some sort of talent training so that we can have some impact on the country. Because of the extraordinary performance of the Kenyan team, now some of them are getting, opportunities outside the country. Impactful. We also need to avoid some of penalties. I think we are an example. By federation here, I'm not going to mention its name. We paid money for them to participate in that. Then their one governance board slapped them with a penalty for not participating. Then they still come back to the ministry. They have the previous case of getting money and not traveling, and they still came up with the fees for omitting another one. And I think that case is not. So, there is issue of participation fees. The itemized budget. We are slapped with very high participation fees by some of the international bodies. So I think to develop, because of the relationship we have with international bodies, to make sure that we negotiate for some of these participation fees. Then, of course, when you look at the issues of hosting is supposed to be approved by the cabinet secretary. But I think we just don't go and invite people here. Sometimes we pay expenses for people to come and teams from outside the country to come and participate here. You force the government to pay for accommodation. So we as much as we support hosting for money. Then the issue of alternative source of funding, Hussein, I think that is a very good example. He has spoken about crowding out public sector investment. Moreover, people source for private sector funding. You look for alternative source of funding. And by the way, Waziri, we get alternative sources of funding for some of these sporting facilities. At the point of asking for this funds from the government. We have found who are ready to fund some sporting activities, but they are frustrated by the federations themselves for reasons that are not known. So without being subjective, please open up the doors for private sector to come and invest in your sporting activities. Every funding request that comes to the fund of kids and equipment. I don't know how fast they wear and tear is, but next month we used to go to this year, they need new kids. Is it that some of these they participating are so intense that the kids go worn out in the first, in a single match? So we need to detail on that. But some highlights that we need to mention is that Waziri has spoken about enhanced allowances by this regime, but that requires some few, administrative issues to be addressed, because it not just happen overnight. It's a presidential directive we need to appreciate, but there are some documentation, there are some government bodies like SRC used to make approvals for those. As you are aware, last year we cleared cash awards from 2011 up to today. We have been having paid cash awards for all those years. Even some were made declaration by white bank which were never paid. But we have made sure under the regime of William Samoei Ruto, make sure that all cash awards that are owned by our clients are being paid. The few ones that are remaining are being worked on and will be paid in the next few weeks. We always have you make what is late submission of request. When you submit your request very late, air tickets prices depend on the time of bookings. When you submit your request very late, we end up paying exorbitant price for the tickets. So make sure you make those submissions well in advance. I think Komora has spoken about the use of this facility with the direction of the Cabinet Secretary to make this forum. Where we deduct the money for allowance. If after hotel from sport fund, Waziri, I think you make a direct direction, you will implement it to the latter, that so that we deduct it from the federation and pay sport Kenya directly from today onwards, so that the federation will not be harmed by the money. Otherwise, then the issue of returns, this is where there is a problem. Last financial year, we paid 4.1 billion shillings to these federations. They never women who sit before you here when I was in the public secretary. And I want to make it public. The men and women sitting before you, I was in, received 4.1 billion Kenya shilling the last financial year. You know, why it was happening? You hosted, there are 243 events that were facilitated by the government of Kenya for you to attend, either locally or abroad. Out of this, only 1.62 billion has been accounted for, reflecting 39% of the total sum that was submitted. So the returns for the events that happened is only 78 events out of 243 that were accounted for. So the rest, from where I sit, it looks like it is. The law says, in case funds are utilized, you return them back to sport fund. So it is my expectation that because federation received 4.1 billion and they only submitted returns for 1.6 billion, that very soon you are going to return 2.5 billion to sport fund. That's my expectation. So if that forward, we are going to issue something called certificate of compliance. That accounted for the funds that has been disbursed and the ones who are going to qualify for funding.
Yes, that's okay. Yes.
And it is not just an announcement. I'm appealing to my cabinet secretary, because he's the only one who is authorized to make that kind of a decree. But I'm advising this federation, we have spoken to them to give returns. They will never listen. Now, with your permission, I will now be giving certificate of compliance for another fund. Without returns, you don't need any funding. So, I just have two new developments that I need to make some announcement is that we are now automating the process of returns, making returns. There is a system that we have already formulated so that we now automate it. We feed into the returns. We are going to train the federations when we roll out after presenting it to Waziri so that he can look at the workbooks, whether they are going to serve the purpose, so that now the whole process of monitoring, evaluation, and submission of returns is now automatic, so that it is now system-based system or another software for farming application, so that unless ubonyeze ile ya returns, you cannot progress to farming application.
Yeah.
So that is the formative stages. You already have a system in place. You as a master, if you don't comply, and the enforcement will happen through automation of the system. So after presentation, we will present specifically that system and train you on the system so that we roll it out and Waziri can come and launch installations. Has been gazetted. There's now what is going to happen is that the president will invest these funds. What fund used to do health and other issues. Now, they are saying this fund should to actualize that. The amendment to the members from the umbrella to sit on the board of sport. So good things are coming, but it is always expected that with these good things that the government is doing for you, you must reciprocate it by making sure that there is discipline, there is financial prudency, and that the government is doing. Those who remarks was in, I beg to sit.
Thank you, Honorable. One of the many things that I have heard is that we shall be represented in the board of sportsman. Sasa sijui utachagua nani, the criteria ya kuchagua na kadhalika, but we will come back to us that we can have to represent us in the board. And now I want to invite Madam Penina, the one in charge of Kikinya. And I'll let you know it is the home, the source, and one of the people I met was very much concerned. Why is it that we have allowed our young talents to be mismanaged, misused by our coaches? But I asked him, where are the presidents, general secretaries, and everybody in the federations? Because if it were to happen, you are there. So, Madam Penina, tell us about serving the same Kenya, the talent that we are looking for, the talent that Kenya Academy is looking for. We need harness violence.
Thank you, sir. Yes, thank you, sir. Honorable PCS, Salim Korea, our peers, all the CEOs present, all protocols observed. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Grace Mitambo from Kenya Academy of Sports. I started Dr. Dorino Biambo, who is out there as the PS are saying. As Kenya Academy of Sports, there is a lot that we are doing, and I feel like this is just our forum. Basically, we have been doing grassroots identification of talent, and since we started that tracking of talent from grassroots, we have seen a lot of mileage, and a case study in football, Hussein can attest to that, which saw us getting to the World Cup. I believe it can happen in each and every of these federations represented if we work together, if we we talent identify together. And for those whom we have worked with, CS will tell you that all the talent identifiers, the scouts, come from the federations. They are the ones who nominate them, they will second them to us. And also, we train technical personnel, which is one of our mandates. And when we are doing that, it is the federation who do the certification, who do the training. And understand that all the talents that we want to transit within our nation